Hey everyone, it's Jessica Michaels here with Color Rush Studio. I decided to use up a great deal of this kit by making a mini album today. So I've got some chipboard here. I actually cut a cut file that I made on my Cricut design software into a ticket shape, as you can see, and then I have cut a front and back cover, or both sides of the cover rather, and I also cut a piece of thin chipboard to go in between those two layers. So I've got a front cover and a back cover, and then both sides have two pieces. So they have the inside of the covers and the outsides of the covers, and then they've both got that chipboard piece in between those layers. And what I'm going to do now is I wanted to create a little piece to go around the binding. So I'm going to use chipboard for that, and I'm also going to use the same pattern papers that I used for the front and back covers as well. So I'm going to keep the patterns the same. I'm sticking to that orange paper that has the polka dots on it for the inside, and I'm using the airplane kind of paper that's also orange for the cover. So I made a little square. I was just playing around with this and seeing how big I wanted it to be, and I went with the inside part of that ticket to where it kind of pops out there, and I wanted my binding to be the same size. So what I did is I cut pieces of that pattern paper to 3 3/4 inches by 2 inches high, and then I'm going to pull out this little scoreboard here, and I'm going to score it at 1 inch from each side. So I initially ended up with a pretty good sized piece in between. It was 1.25 inches in between there, 1 3/4 inches, I think it was, in between the pieces that I'm creasing here, which is going to be my main binding piece for the little mini album, and it's going to actually hold all of my pages. So I wanted a pretty good size because my albums tend to be pretty thick and dimensional, and I'm also going to be using some acrylics from the August Color Rush Studio kit. So I wanted this to be pretty thick on the binding, and then I'm just folding these pieces, and then I will actually cut a piece of chipboard to go in the very center of that binding as well. The chipboard piece, I folded these the wrong way, so I had to actually think about how this was going to go onto my binding and onto my mini album, and then I flipped it around the other way. So I've got that. I just need to cut my little chipboard piece for in the center of that dimension for the chipboard piece just in the center only, because I don't need to reinforce the little tabs that I'm going to be gluing in between my covers. That's what the little tab pieces are for, that are scored at 1 inch on either side. That's going to go and be glued in between my front and back cover and kind of sandwiched between my layers. So I wanted the chipboard to just be in that binding section. So I'm just going to make that chipboard piece 2 inches high by 1 3/4 inches. So that's all the chipboard that I need. I'm going to go ahead and start gluing these layers together. I found that this Nuvo Deluxe adhesive dries clear and also has a really nice hold, so it works pretty well for these albums. The other type of adhesive that I would possibly use on this would be ThermoWeb's mixed media adhesive, because it also has a pretty strong bond and works really well for different types of materials like this. So those are the two kinds of adhesives that I recommend for this type of project. I'm going to go ahead and glue these layers together, and then these little flaps here that you see me kind of playing around with, I'm just making sure that they're going to fold right and be able to be manipulated and kind of turned open and closed whenever I am turning the pages in my mini album and the covers are opened and closed. So I just wanted to make sure that I had enough space and enough wiggle room on there before I started gluing these layers down. I kind of messed up whenever I was gluing these down, totally forgot about having to sandwich my binding in between these covers. So I did glue this one down. You'll see me pull it back up here in a minute and kind of reposition everything. But you want to have that chipboard in the middle in between both of your pattern papers, so you have a back cover and front cover, and then they each have an outside and an inside. I'm also going to do some machine stitching on this. I just really like the way that it sturdies up the pages and just makes them feel a lot better and more durable, and it also makes them a lot more durable whenever people are flipping through your book too. Here's where you can see my little oopsie, and I peeled that back apart and I'm placing it back together, just kind of flipping it around, making sure I have the right cover and the right side the way that I wanted it to go. Luckily, this paper that I'm using doesn't have a right side and a wrong side as far as up and down and all of that. It's pretty non-directional. So I chose good papers in that sense, that I didn't have to make sure that it was the correct way. And then I'm just working on the other cover at this point. I'm just going to sandwich it together the exact same way. I did remember this time to wait and glue that together. I actually put my binding in between my front pattern paper and my chipboard. It goes right in here. So you'll see I leave out a little bit of adhesive right there where that flap is going to go inside. I did end up covering it in adhesive because I'm like, well, I still need adhesive there regardless if I do it now or if I just wait. So you see that I just left that open. I didn't press that together on that edge because I need to shove this inside there. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this in there so that that flap is right inside that cover, in between, again, the pattern paper for the cover side and my chipboard. And then it's super sturdy. It's pretty thick. It's nice and durable. These are going to be my pages. What I did on my Cricut design software is I just found a ticket that I had in my stash, so I didn't have to buy it or anything. It was already in my stash in my files, and I just kind of manipulated the cut file a little bit and did some welding and some, I think it had some designs in the ticket itself, so I did the hide contours to take away any of the design that was in the ticket, so it's just a solid ticket, and I just welded two together to make my pages, so they're just two tickets back to back, and then I'm going to fold it in half, and then my cover was just the regular ticket design that I just made the binding for. So it's really super easy to make this kind of album. I love this kind of album. I love the little chunky feel, and I wanted to decorate the front cover. So I'm actually going to pull out this little stamp set that I have from Ellie's Studio, and it's just like a nice little ticket stamp set, and it has all these little fun phrases about like carnival and fair and things like that, and at the park. So it's just a perfect little stamp set to enhance this kit, and I can use it right along with all of my supplies from this August Color Rush kit, which is just fantastic. So I've got this acrylic piece from the acrylic kit, and this is the August kit as well. And then I've got the main kit and the bold kit here too. So the bold kit contains the main kit. So if you want to subscribe to any of these Color Rush kits, if you get the bold kit, it includes everything from the main kit. So you want to make sure that you're getting the ones that you want. So my personal preference is to get the bold kit and the acrylic kit, because then I know I'm getting all of the bits and pieces, all of the Color Rush exclusives that they create for us, and I'm getting all of those goodies, so I don't have to leave anything behind. I've got this little part that I'm putting on the front of my cover. I'm just finishing my little lines here that I'm just doodling on. I've done some stamping from that stamp set, and I have just rounded the corners of this piece just to make it look kind of more authentic, like a real ticket on the cover. And then I have, of course, the Good Times acrylic piece that's going to go right on the front, which I just absolutely love. I love the color of that. It's just so gorgeous, and it just matches this collection perfectly and this kit. So I'm super excited about this. Just wanted to make sure that was stuck down good before I did my machine stitching. Here you can see I stitched all around the edges of my tickets, and then I also stitched separately that binding square. So everything is nice and held together and very durable. Here's my pages. I'm going to start working with these. I'm just going to go through and go ahead and crease all of these, and this is how they're going to end up in my book. I don't end up using all of these pages. I actually cut quite a bit more than I ended up needing, but it's okay because I like to have a little bit of variety when I'm working with these, and I don't always know how many pages I'm going to need. So I actually made one of these albums previously in a heart shape, and I think I used 7 of these folded pages in there. And then this one, I ended up only using, I think like 4 or something like that. I think it was 4. So I didn't end up actually needing a ton of these. And I didn't do a ton of interactive elements in this one either, because I didn't really need to shove in a whole bunch of photos. I just had this cute little fun amusement park trip, and that's what I scrapped in this little book. So this collection is so perfect for amusement parks or even a birthday party party, trips to the fair, anything like that. This collection and this kit is great for. I ended up making this cute little album charm. This is like one of my new things that I absolutely love doing. And I'm just attaching an eyelet at the very top of my binding so that my little charm can go into the binding and be held on there with that little lobster clasp. And then here, I'm just going to show you how I attached my individual pages. I just kind of lay it down like this, make sure that my embroidery floss is underneath the album, and then I'm just tying it in the middle. So this is going to be in the inside of the pages, and my binding, it'll be pretty and finished on the outside. And then when I get my pages tied in here, I will put my little charm on top. So I don't know if you guys noticed, they're not the little pom-poms in my little charm that I made. I actually used those little pom-poms from the kit as well. Wasn't sure what else I was going to do with them. I was going to end up just using them as embellishment or like little sparkles in my layouts or something like that. But I looked at them, and that's literally the only thing that I could see was making a charm for an album out of them. So that's kind of how this little mini album came to my mind, and in my brain is like, I want to make a charm out of those pom-poms, and then I want to make a little mini album and make it in a ticket shape. But that's just like how my brain works, and it's kind of crazy, and I've got a lot going on up there, and sometimes I have really good ideas that I just immediately need to get out of my brain and onto paper. So and another thing I wanted to use in this album was these cute little trims. So a couple of them I tied in with that black and white embroidery floss. And then a couple of these, I used some of these beautiful trims from the kit because I just love them. I love that these kits come with exclusive fibers, and they have these little pom-pom trims and cute little checkered ones. And in this month's is that red and white beautiful stripy one. And they're just so fun. And I love incorporating those in my projects. So I'm so happy that they always come in these kits. So I'm using that one palm trim to adhere the one page there, and I am using some twine, just kind of alternating on two of these pages, and then I'm going to use another one of these trims on my last page. So yeah, I guess there was 4 pages, but they're all, back to back. So 4 pages is, I don't know, however many, but it's actually 1, 2, 3, 4 pages per page. So I guess that's what, 4 times 4. So yeah, so there's a lot of actual sides to these pages. So there's still a lot of content in here. And as you can see, the last page there is of my little guy sleeping because he was just tuckered out and he had such a fun time, but he had to take a nap throughout the day when we were at the amusement park. So it's a good thing I had my stroller with me that day. But yeah, so that's this mini album. I didn't show any of the embellishing or anything like that because that does typically take me a little while to figure out kind of a plan and what I want to do. So I'm just going to show you a flip through here in a minute on what all the pages look like, and you get the idea. It's a very, very simple mini album as far as embellishing goes. I just used a lot of things from the kit. I used embellishments that I made myself by cutting pieces out of the cut apart pages in the pattern papers. So any of the like pocket page pattern papers that come in this kit, I used a lot of those and just cut pieces out of them. And of course I used the ephemera that also came with the kits. So I used quite a bit of this kit. I have little like bits left. I could probably do a couple layouts with yet and still have some left. But here's the flip through here. This is how it came out. I just love this chunky little mini album. I hope that this has helped you guys in learning how to create mini albums and not be super intimidated by them like I used to be. I used to be afraid to try them, but now I absolutely love them, and it's one of my favorite things. And it's also a really, really great thing whenever you have a lot of embellishments that you want to kind of stash bust and kind of use a lot of your things. So here's what it looks like. I hope you guys have enjoyed this process today, and I'll link the August kits down below for you in the description in case you want to sign up or grab those individually from the shop. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I thank you for being here. Have a great day. Bye bye.